What's poppin', YouTube fam? We got UFC Fight Night, Halloway versus the Korean Zombie taking place. Over here in the West Coast, it's going to be at 2 a.m. The main card's going to start at 5 a.m. I don't know what it's like for y'all around the rest of the world. Let me know. But I know for me, I'm going to be up really late tonight, and I don't even really care. The only thing is, I just feel like the main event's going to be kind of lackluster because we know it's going to happen. Out of all the UFC fights this year, I'm rocking a 64% win rate still, which has been, pretty stagnant for the last couple of cards. But what hasn't been stagnant is my main event picks. They've gone up a lot. And at one point, if you've really stuck around the channel and you've been watching, you'd know that it used to be tied off for a long time. Moving on to the first fight of the whole event, Sungwoo Choi taking on Jarno Aarons. I know why everyone's picking Sungwoo Choi. I know why he swelled up to be the favorite. He has a little bit crisper of striking, and he's kind of a giant freak for featherweight. But I feel like he's way too chinny, and Jarno Evans has shown in his one UFC fight against William Gomes that he's a threat anywhere it goes, and I actually trust him to wrap up a submission in the second round. Maybe after hurting Sungwoo Choi, maybe after just getting a weird takedown or something, but I could see him wrapping up a sub and Sungwoo Choi pretty much instantly tapping to it. The first couple of fights are going to be a little bit odd, like this one, just a little bit tough to pick, so bear with me. But moving on into the second fight of the night, we've got Na Liang taking on JJ Aldrich. This one, actually, I take it back. This one is not that hard to pick. JJ Aldrich should be able to just smother Na Liang up against the fence and maybe even take her down and just control her and win a very boring fight. I don't know if she'll finish her. I know she has the potential to, but I don't really know if I could see that happening. Na Liang could potentially beat her up on the feet, but I just feel like she'll get smothered. Moving on, we got Yusaku Kinoshita taking on Billy Goff. This one's a welterweight bout, and this one's probably going to be a slugfest. Yusaku has the way crisper striking and the crisper movement on the feet, but Billy Goff is just a slugger, and he's going to move with his hands up, in and out, kind of like Mike Tyson, and he's going to take a lot of punishment and dish a lot of it out. And I honestly trust him to be able to take more punishment than Kinoshita's going to be able to take, and I'm going to trust Billy Goff to win this one, probably by a decision, where he just starts to snowball after the end of the first round, or maybe at the beginning of the second round he just starts to really take over, or maybe he can even knock him out. I mean, somebody might have to get knocked out in this one. Then we move on up the card. Song Kanon taking on Rolando Bedoya. Rolando Bedoya had a debut against what's his name? Chaos Williams, and that alone is a really tough call to make your debut against somebody like that. But he also arguably could have won that fight, and he looked really good in it. He took his shots nicely. He rolled with them. He was smiling at him. He just looked like he belonged in the UFC. And Song Kanon, let's just be real, aside from his big moment dropping Ian Gary and then getting his ass beat afterwards earlier this year, he's really not had much of a stellar run in the octagon so far, let's just say. So I'm going to trust Rolando Bedoya to get him out of there in the second round. Moving on up the card, we got Chidi and Njokuani taking on Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Let's check real quick who Mikhail has fought recently. He lost to Kyle Baharilio by rear naked choke, beat Cody Brundage, that's not a great win to have, beat Sam Alvey, lost to Dustin Jacoby, beat Shamil Gamzatov, Modestas Bukauskas. That's actually a really good win to have, Modestas Bukauskas. Lost to Jimmy Crute, lost to OSP. Jesus. Okay, yeah, see, I was already going to go Chidi and Njokuani just because I feel like he's way too menacing on the feet. He's too imposing, and that's where Mikhail does his best work. But after looking at his record, yeah, I'm picking Chidi and Njokuani. Moving back to the bantamweight division, we've got Toshiomi Kazama taking on Garrett Armfield. Again, this one to me isn't that tough to call. I'm going with Garrett Armfield. I feel like he's just way more threatening anywhere it goes, and he's a lot less likely to get chinned. Toshiomi got ran through by Rinya Nakamura, who we're going to talk about later on the card. And to me, when you really look at his older fights, he's just a can crusher. He beat a lot of people that are not tested at all on his local circuit, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I mean, shit happens. You might have just got rushed into the UFC a bit too early. And I think that he's going to be getting his call out of here real soon after this one. Moving on up the card, we've got Waldo Cortez Acosta taking on Lucas Bresky. This is the prelim headliner, and I feel like it's going to be one of those types of boring heavyweight fights where it's like a clinch fest, and they're kind of just like holding on for dear life because they gassed out after the first. But I trust Waldo or Cortez Acosta to fight that fight a little bit better and be dominating the clinch positions a little bit more often than Bresci, land a little bit more leg kicks, maybe pop his jab out there, and if we're lucky, someone will get a TKO. I'm hoping it's going to be Cortez Acosta because I've got some money on the parlays tonight, baby. Come on, you know how it is, and I'm not trying to lose on some BS to this type of heavyweight fight. Like, if anything, make it the Junior Taffa fight. I wouldn't mind losing on that one, which we're going to talk about next, actually. Perfect transition. Junior Taffa taking on Parker Porter. Parker Porter just got knocked out not that long ago by Justin Taffa, the older of the brothers, I believe, the older. Correct me if I'm wrong. And now the UFC's like, fuck it. Let's see if he'll accept this one. And I guess he does. He decides, fuck it, I'm gonna take this one too. And he's downgrading because that last time he got knocked out, at least it was on pay-per-view. This one's gonna be on the main card of a fight night at 2 a.m. So really only hardcores are going to be up this late watching this shit. But either way, I'm going with Junior Taffa to do the same thing. First round knockout in devastating fashion, and I can't really see it any other way. Parker Porter's just way too slow and chinny. Moving on up the card, Erin Blanchfield taking on Tyler Santos. This is a really, really good fight, honestly. Both of these women only have 3 losses combined. And it's hard for me to call this one because the area of expertise for both of them is on the ground, and they both do it differently, but they both kind of counter each other out, if you get what I'm saying. Erin Blanchfield was like a wet blanket, smother you, and then submit you type of grappler, and Tyler Santos is like a counter wet blanket grappler, if that makes sense. Like, she's good at flowing on the ground, even if she's getting taken there without it being where she's trying to go. But ultimately, I'm going to trust Erin Blanchfield to sub her. She's just been on too crazy of a roll. Moving on up the card, Rinya Nakamura versus Fernie Garcia. This is tough for Fernie Garcia. I mean, I feel like he came into the UFC with a solid record. He's definitely not a bad prospect by any means. He's just been given a kind of tough run. And I don't know who's managing him, but why give him Rinya Nakamura? I feel like this is just going to be a wash, man. Rinya is hyper aggressive. He has bombs in his hands, and he has great grappling. That's his base. So I'm going to have to trust Rinya Nakamura to get Fernie Garcia out of there, probably in the first round. It's going to be tough, but Fernie could, I mean, you never know. You never know in MMA. Feature fight of the night, Giga Chikadze taking on Alex Caceres. This is a great fight. Giga Chikadze's been out of the game for way too long. And when you look at Alex Caceres' record, I'm going to double check it real quick. But I believe he's 9-1 in his last 10. Let me just double check. He beat Daniel Pineda, lost to Pat Sabat. Oh, wait, no, that's grappling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-1 in his last 9. Sorry, I was one off. And that one loss was to Sadiq Yusuf, who's an incredible featherweight prospect in his own right. And Giga Chikadze got melted, absolutely melted by Calvin Kattar. And then we haven't seen him for I don't even know how long. I'm going to trust Alex Caceres to get Giga out of here. Probably by a finish, honestly. I could see him winning a close split decision or getting him out of there by finish with a rear naked choke like I called months ago in my original prediction video on my shorts part of my channel. Check them out if you like my short form content, honestly. But yeah, I've predicted this fight before, and I still trust my early prediction. Alex Caceres is just a crafty veteran, and I feel like he's better in a lot more areas of the game than Giga is. But I won't lie, Giga is imposing on the feet, and he could melt Alex in the first round even. He's just a lot crisper on the feet. I just feel like he's going to get tired too quick and, yeah, get choked out. Moving on, co-main event of the night, we've got Anthony Smith taking on Ryan Spann 2, the rematch. Originally, Anthony Smith, what did he do? He knocked out Ryan Spann? Did he choke him? Let me just double check real quick for you guys. I can do that now, my new fancy little toy. Let's see. Originally, when they fought, yeah, it was a rear naked choke in the first round. Oh, I remember that. He kind of bullied him. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think Ryan Spann is a lot sharper on the feet. He knows what he needs to do in there now. He's a little bit more battle-tested, and I think that he's going to go in there and knock out Anthony Smith. Let's be real, Anthony Smith is not the same fighter that he used to be. If he was, I think I would trust Anthony Smith to do the same thing he did before. But he's just not that guy anymore, and on top of that, anytime you watch him in an interview, it's painfully obvious that the guy does not know how to accept that he is not the same fighter, and he needs to change something if he really, really wants to make it back to a championship, which is it's just never gonna happen. Let's be real. So again, I'm going with Ryan Spann by a knockout. All right, we got the main event of the night. Max Holloway taking on the Korean Zombie. Both legends of the division, legends of the sport, of the fight game. I love both of these fighters. As I was like coming up into the UFC, I was a massive fan of the Korean Zombie. I didn't know too much about Max, oddly enough, which is funny. But obviously, as time went on, I began to learn about Max as well, and I've been just huge fans of both of them. So it's hard to know that somebody has to lose unless, God forbid, some shenanigans happens and there's like an eye poke or some bullshit. Other than that, somebody has to lose, and when it comes to fan favorites, nobody really wants that to be the case. But let's be real, man. Max Holloway is in his prime. TKZ is not. Max Holloway, even if they were both in their primes, I think would melt the Korean Zombie because he's just simply better in the area that they both thrive in, and that's striking on the feet. And Max Holloway is so good at getting in and getting out and floating back, avoiding damage. And even if you are going to damage him, he just takes it way better than you can. He has one of the best chins in all of fight history. So I'm going with Max Holloway. He probably really is going to set like another significant strike record unless he decides to go easy on Zombie, or unless the ref decides to have mercy and save him and just get him out of there. So, I mean, unless there's a miracle, Zombie's not winning this fight. If you guys enjoy these short form content, videos, predictions, I make them every week, every time there's fights. So sub if you want more. I'll catch y'all.